Good morning to those who are joining. We're looking forward to receiving you for the presentation of Preceptorship for Northern Devon Healthcare Trust. I am going to start with the first presentation slides. After my presentation, you're going to have a opportunity to meet Northern Devon District Hospital preceptees to talk with them in a breakout room about experience of being a preceptee at North Devon. Once we've had the preceptees in a breakout room, you'll come back to meet Lucy Bates, who has had an initiative of having a preceptorship mentoring programme. We will then go to another breakout room where you get to meet North Devon District Hospital buddies that are senior leaders that are dedicated to supporting you through your preceptorship. You'll have some time then with Lindsay, who will give you an outline of our library services. You'll come back to from the main court into breakout rooms where you get to meet North Devon District staff and have a conversation about their careers. After that, we can have some question and answer sessions. Welcome to my talk about North Devon District Hospital Preceptorship. If you're not aware of North Devon District Hospital, we are a district hospital just outside of Barnstaple, and we cover the largest geographical area in comparison to in England. The only where that comes close to the vast area that we cover is in Scotland. At North Devon District Hospital, our preceptorship programme is multi-professional, and when I say multi-professional, I have a range of professions from midwives, OTs, physios, nursing associates, and we always welcome everyone as well. Then we've also got the fact that our preceptorship is based around the HE 14 standards. That's the cornerstone of my programme. I got 14 HE standards that I've built this programme around. At North Devon District Hospital, our programme is a year long, so that we give you 6 talk days, evenly spaced through the year. Within those days, we have a large content that focus upon your professional development and the support of transitioning from being a student into being a registrant. In your areas, you'll learn your clinical skills and expertise based in the role that you choose. Roles within our preceptorship have been clearly defined to help identify who provides support to the preceptee. So the preceptee is the newly registrant member of staff that joins within a chosen area of clinical team, and they get a preceptor. So preceptor is the person with the most clinical experience to support them through their preceptorship journey. Then overseeing that, we have a preceptorship champion. In most clinical areas, we're working on rolling that out further, and they help facilitate the relationship between the preceptor and the preceptee. Preceptorship champion, preceptor and preceptee feed into the line manager, who has overview and responsibility for each of the staff members. The line manager solely supports the preceptee through the preceptorship process and ensures that those relationships are working, and ensures that the preceptees have the best positive experience they can gain. We also have introduced a new role of a buddy, where we have senior leaders committed to supporting the preceptee through their programme. I'll go into more detail about that presently. And then you've got a preceptorship lead who helps facilitate the preceptorship programme and helps support all those within the programme and the processes. Let's talk about the preceptorship champion role. This is a relatively new role to preceptorship. It was trialled in our accident emergency department in 2021 in a response to having preceptees for the first time within a department. Historically, accident emergency used to have preceptees that have new starters that had experience in other areas. There was never any new qualified staff starting in accident and emergency. So therefore there wasn't preceptors to support the preceptees in their posts. So we identified a person to be a champion who could look at their staffing and their capabilities to identify suitable preceptors to support the preceptees through the journey. We went from having one preceptor in the accident emergency department to having 9 to establish firm support for the preceptees. Because of its success, I've managed to roll it out and have 15 in key clinical areas. And from this point forward, we are establishing clinical preceptorship champions in each specialty. The preceptor is the person that provides the most support to the preceptee in their work area. So it's a person of experience who has worked in that clinical area and has been registered for at least a year so that they can help the preceptee learn how to develop within the chosen clinical area and profession. The skills that a preceptor have are, as you can see, multiple and diverse, and they will be able to call upon and link in with the preceptee to help them develop and grow. The buddy role has been introduced in response to ensuring that the preceptee also has a positive experience and has the opportunity to meet with senior leaders. It's in response to the NHS People Plan, and it's also to ensure that the preceptee has the opportunity to learn leadership, for example. However, it's also about reciprocal mentoring. So the senior leader, the buddy, has the opportunity to come and work with the preceptee in their clinical area to learn about the challenges and the improvements that have taken place for the newly qualified staff. Because it is the first in the Southwest to be provided, it has been nominated for a Nursing Times Award, for a Workforce Award, and we're really excited to be able to showcase this as a new support for preceptees. I'm a very responsive person. I feel that if you're going to provide me with feedback, I like to listen and see how I can move things forward. So we were asked by nursing students if we could have a forum for preceptees. So what I have done is I've developed bi-monthly forums to ensure that preceptees can build their interprofessional relationships. We've got an intranet service that has multiple issues because staff can't access it from their home base. So when preceptees were doing home learning, they weren't able to access resources for preceptorship. So I have managed to develop and have a preceptorship password page added onto the Trust website to ensure that all preceptees have access to the necessary resources. As a lot of people did, preceptees have felt very vulnerable during the pandemic and felt quite isolated and alone. So what I did was developed a virtual check-in. I had to be very conscious of footfall. So I provided opportunities for preceptees to meet with me via MS Teams or phone call so that we could frequently check in and ensure that they weren't feeling isolated. And a lot of people felt uncertain meeting their senior leader buddy because it was the unknown. So we've moved forward, I spoke with senior leaders and preceptees about how we could help alleviate that worry and concern. So a lot of senior leaders provided an introduction video so that they could introduce themselves to the preceptee before the initial meeting. Like I said, I prefer to have feedback on the programme so that I can help establish how the preceptees are feeling and look at challenges or difficulties they might face. First question I asked was, are you happy in your role? And thankfully, an overwhelming result was that they all said yes. So that was fantastic. I asked them if they're feeling supported as a preceptee, and thankfully again the result was overwhelming and yes. We asked, how do you feel supported and valued? Within their workplace, you can see the majority of the result is very supported, and those that have said in the lower numbers, we're working towards increasing that support and value. Again, feeling very supported by their senior leader buddy has been overwhelming in the results, and all those that have answered in the lower areas has highlighted to me work that I need to help support them with. So Preceptee's opinion of having a buddy, of having a senior leader, as you can see, has been developed into a word cloud, and they've found it useful on many levels. I'm going to stop at this point to ask if you've got any questions before I proceed. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to go into breakout rooms so that you can ask the preceptees about the preceptorship process for Northern Devon District Hospital. And it's 10 minutes to have that conversation where you can have a chat with them about how they have felt about being a preceptee, where they are in their journey, and any hints and tips and guidance and advice that you might like to receive from them.
The trust for me has been really supportive. I qualified in January 2020, and unfortunately by 2021, in the March I started my job on the Wednesday, and by the Friday we're in lockdown, so it's been a bit of a baptism of fire. But the team that I'm working with, I'm a community nurse, and they've been really supportive. I was supposed to start the preceptorship program then, but unfortunately due to COVID and members of staff, it was not able. So I joined, I was reallocated in the April to redo my preceptorship. Having a buddy has been really good. So I have a mentor within my team, and my line manager's also my supervisor. So she does all the supervision, and then my buddy, my mentor, supports me within the team. But then I have a buddy outside the team, which is really good because you can chat with them, totally confidential. Obviously, if there was an issue, he would have to act on that, but he really supports me. We've met for coffee, we've had telephone calls, Zoom meetings, so it's just been really supportive. And it's just been great, really. Preceptorship, we're thankfully now able to go back in, as much as it's only half a day, because we have to split the group in. But it's been really useful to have that extra support, especially during COVID. It's been quite a trying time, especially if you're a newly qualified. So we meet once a month, and then we do meet once a month, and then have an interim forum in between as well, which is on Zoom. We have obviously a folder to create. We've done some presentations, a folder to create, and you just support it all the way through, really. To anything that you do, get a certificate, you pop in there. It's been really good. Yeah, I mean, this trust has been really good. It's only a small hospital in comparison to like Royal Devon and Exeter or Derriford, so it is really interesting. Lots of different areas to work in. Recommend. coming to work within our trust.
So, as I said, I've been working here for nearly a year. It's the interprofessional bit is actually what I quite like about preceptorship. Yeah, so as I was saying, there's a sort of a group of colleagues that I now work with quite regularly on our preceptorship days, but also several of them work on my ward, so it does make it a little bit easier when I'm sort of discussing things about patients with those particular people, because I've already got those relationships, which is quite useful, especially in a very busy ward environment when you don't really want to interrupt people because everyone's so busy. But yeah, so that's kind of the main thing that I like about it, to be honest. It is quite useful as well because obviously we have to do all of our CPD stuff, so a lot of it counts towards that, which is quite good. And sort of making a portfolio, it's good practice for it, and just in case it might get audited one day. So I think that's a useful thing as well. And oh, the buddy thing, the buddy programme. It was a bit of a weird concept that I didn't quite understand, but I do get it now. And it is quite nice having someone who's not in my clinical area that I can talk to, and also who seems genuinely interested in me, which is always nice. I really enjoy working here, actually. It's stressful, of course, but in a good way. I think you guys are all from Plymouth, I believe. So yeah, not too far to come up to Barnstable. It's a nice hospital. So how often do you meet your buddies? So we try to sort of officially meet up every month, which has usually been on Teams. But we do sort of also email back and forth in between times. I'm currently trying to arrange a time for me to go out and spend some time with her and vice versa. That's just been a little bit tricky because it's been summertime, so people have been on leave and things. But yeah, so I think the sort of the once a month is what you're sort of meant to aim for, but then you can sort of do anything more depending on what you want to get out of it. My buddy is, obviously I'm an occupational therapist, but my buddy is a community matron, which is a role I didn't even really know existed. Yeah, so it's been quite interesting sort of talking about our different experiences of things. So obviously she's very much based in the community and I'm based on a ward, so it is quite different. Yeah, but I'm looking forward to when we actually meet in person. Have I got friends that haven't done a preceptorship programme? Everyone has to do it, basically. It's kind of a requirement as a newly registered health professional, I suppose that's what we're called. So all over the country, everyone does it, basically. Whether you do it sort of immediately when you first start or whether you wait a little bit. So I think it was, mine didn't start till I'd been here for about 4-5 months or something. But yeah, it is something that everyone has to do, basically. So I think they've done quite a good job of here of making it something worthwhile, because I know a lot of training courses that you're probably familiar with at uni and things is sort of things that you feel like you have to do, but you don't necessarily enjoy that much. But actually, this is something I have really enjoyed doing. So I think that's quite a big win for the programme. Just sort of getting that. There's sort of, obviously there's the relationships between colleagues and things, but there's also the training sessions that we have on particular areas and things. So we had one on our last day about depression in older adults, which is something that actually I come across quite a lot, but I hadn't really thought much about. So that was quite a useful one to sort of see. We've also had talks about well-being and all the support that's available to us, various hospital processes that you're not necessarily aware of because it's only if you happen to have come across them in your role, which you often don't. Yeah, so I would say it is worthwhile, definitely. And it is a bit of support because it's a little bit daunting when you sort of just graduated and you're like, oh, hey, now I'm doing this job and I don't really feel like I know what I'm doing. And it's quite nice to meet other people who are also feeling in that position, which I think everyone does as a newly qualified. Yeah, it is pretty daunting being newly qualified, especially I started in November, so it was just in the second lockdown. So I moved to a completely new area, I was starting a new role, I didn't really know what I was doing. It was very daunting. They know what it's like. That's kind of the point of preceptorship, they know that we're all new. So, you know, everyone does feel daunted, but the support is there. Yeah, I think it's just important to remember that everyone's sort of feeling in that position, but equally The trust knows that, the senior leaders know that, you know, everyone remembers what it's like to be newly qualified. And I've learned an awful lot in the year that I've been here.
So hi, I'm not sure who's on the call, but welcome. My name's Lucy Bates. I'm Associate Director of Nursing within the Surgical Directorate at Northern Devon Healthcare Trust, but was heavily involved in the development and setup of the buddy programme that Kate's already talked about. So this basically was a programme that was established or identified as a need or potential need in around 2019, so before COVID pandemic, and was based on feedback we'd received from preceptees and how they felt in practice and how they felt during their transition, and actually recognizing what the need was of our preceptees and our new registrants coming through, as different generations to what we're seeing working in the NHS now, and just trying to support the differing needs that we see, really. So what we thought would be good going forward would be to have a senior leader, or a leader across the organisation, linked in with preceptees, just to help and support their transition, but also just to provide a different perspective on your transition kind of into your early career, recognising that now with changes to the proficiencies of nursing particularly, obviously generational gaps that we're seeing within the workforce, and people coming through their training with very clear career aspirations and ideas on the directions of travels they want to take. And we thought it would be a good opportunity to link people in with senior leaders, so they're able to start to have conversations around how they can be supported, looking at leadership, gaining a wider understanding of some of the other complexities in the organisation that you may not see when you're directly working on the front line. And as Kate alluded to, this was almost a reciprocal mentoring. So it wasn't developed to be a one-way process. So it wasn't developed to benefit just you as preceptees. It was actually developed to benefit both the leaders across the organisation as well as preceptees, because I think we all recognise as leaders that sometimes we are removed quite remotely from what's happening on the front line. And I think in order for us to drive change across the system and drive kind of strategic changes across the organisation, I think it's really important that we actually understand what are the real life challenges that our workforce are facing. So that's kind of where the programme came from. We did a little bit of a test of change in 2020, and some of the people on the call today were some of the key people that were heavily involved in the early setup of the programme. And we did a small test of change, and actually the feedback that we received from both the buddies and the preceptees was really positive. And consequently, since then, we've done a lot of work trying to onboard other leaders to be part of this programme. And I've been absolutely overwhelmed with the pace and momentum that this has created, and the number of people that are wanting to be involved in this kind of project and programme. It's just, you know, amazing to see that actually people really absolutely see the value in what we're trying to do, and the importance of working with our colleagues, especially our new registrants across the multi-professional workforce. So we managed to onboard somewhere around 60 leaders across the organisation, who are now really keen to support some of your early career transition. And we've obviously got our first cohort that started in April, but we've had a cohort now that have been running. They've been meeting with their preceptees, and what we're doing is we're collecting almost quarterly data from buddies and preceptees, just to really gain an understanding of how we can make the process smoother, what people are finding works really well, what people are finding doesn't work so well, so we can really start to develop and harness kind of the programme of work we're doing. The other part that the leaders can really help with as preceptees is, as part of the preceptorship programme, there's an ask within the programme for you to lead or support or develop a quality improvement project. And actually the advantage of having links in with leaders across the organisation is that they will be able to help connect you with key stakeholders as part of that quality improvement project, who have all been very experienced in driving quality improvement initiatives across their own areas of practice. And so actually, for you to maximise the benefits of what you're trying to do as part of your preceptorship and early career transition, they absolutely have the right skills to be able to drive that programme of work forward. And I mean, there's lots of other benefits to what we're trying to achieve. So obviously it breaks down barriers. There's always this little bit of the workforce on the front line, and then you've got your senior leaders much higher up. And so actually, how can we create a platform where our leaders and our staff on the front line feel more connected and able to communicate with each other? That's really important. The NHS is changing rapidly in terms of culture and learning environments, and I think this is another way of absolutely trying to change cultures and the way that we're working across the NHS to make the experience for both our workforce and our patients better. And the other elements are again around retention and recruitment. We're offering something very different to what other trusts are offering as part of their preceptorship, and our aim is that we are able to support our aspiring stars of the future, and you'll all be our future leaders. And the aim will be that we'll be able to support you on that trajectory in your early career and beyond.
Hi everyone, so we're going to be moving you into buddy rooms to meet buddies that have joined up to support preceptees and learn throughout the process. Your rooms will be opening very shortly, and this is going to be an opportunity for you to ask them how they are finding supporting preceptees through the preceptorship.
I'll kick off. So my name's Katie Milton, and I look after the learning and development teams at Northern Devon Healthcare Trust. I think that's enough from me. Handing over. Anita, do you want to go next?
Yep, I'm Anita Higgins. I'm the Community Nurse Team Manager for South Moulton and Cholmondeley. So we cover quite a large area.
Thanks, Anita. Lindsay?
Hi Chloe, my name's Lindsay Southern. I'm the Knowledge and Library Services Manager for Northern Devon Healthcare Trust. Nice to meet you.
Thanks, Lindsay. And Charlotte?
Yeah, hi, Chloe, I'm Charlotte. I'm the clinical matron for surgery. I apologise that I haven't got a camera on. I've had to hot desk on one of the wards today just to support them. So, and it hasn't got camera facility. But yes, hello.
Thanks, Charlotte. And Lucy?
Hello, Chloe. So I'm Lucy Warner. I'm part of Katie's team and work as young workforce facilitator. So sort of normally work with schools and students. So the Buddies is a lovely addition for me.
Brilliant. Thank you. Chloe, I don't know if there are any particular questions. Looks like you're typing at the moment. I know one thing Kate was asking us to do, wasn't it, to share why we wanted to be buddies or what we thought would be beneficial. Was that right? Because I'm afraid I joined only for the groups and I've missed the first part of the meeting. Sorry about that. But that would be helpful. Okay, good. Funny way of communicating, isn't it? I'm sorry about your mic not working. That's not great. From my point of view, we do a lot with students, as Lucy has said, as a part of our role. And unfortunately, especially in the last 18 months because of COVID, my interaction with the operational teams has really reduced dramatically. So whereby I used to be able to walk around on wards and talk to the nurse managers even, that hasn't even happened either. So selfishly, I would like to connect with the students and the new starters now that we have them in our trust, to find out how it's been for them. It's really important that our future workforce are supported, and we're quite proud in North Devon that we're able to support a lot of development, and we like to think that we are good at that kind of support to our teams, but I want to find out if it actually translates into reality, so that when you do start you feel welcome and that you do feel supported. So that's my bit really, and I hope that I can kind of share some of the different careers that are available and some of the little different kinds of development that we can put into place. We also have quite a big inclusion agenda, which is around, you know, equality and treating everybody as individuals. So that's something else I can support with, and also around the health and well-being side of things. All big topics for us at the moment, so that we can support everybody, not only coping with COVID, but also the after effects and going into winter pressures. I think I said enough for now. So I've heard enough of my voice. Anita, did you want to go next?
Yeah, so we, on the back of a Datex, we actually started doing our own buddy system for new staff. So that includes preceptees and people that have just changed direction in their careers. And we found this really beneficial. So for me, it's a natural progression to be able to see the wider trust new staff, whether they're in the same discipline as me or not. And actually having somebody in a different discipline than me is quite interesting, because I think I learned a lot more about another discipline than my own. So it's really, really interesting. And actually the new staff are our future. So, you know, if we can help in any way to make your transition a lot easier, then actually that's really great. So that's me.
Thanks, Nita. Nice to see you as well. Who went next last time? Lindsay, was it you?
Yeah. Hi, so I'm Knowledge and Library Services, and I guess what I want to say is that as a department, we support the trust, and we support not just the sort of the location of North Devon Hospital, but the whole of the wider geographical area that Kate was talking about at the very beginning of the meeting, about such a wide area that we cover. So it's sort of looking at how we offer a foundation of support for our new preceptees coming in, and not just in that first year, but sort of throughout your lifelong learning journey with the trust and throughout your career. How you develop your skills and where your career path might lead you, and how we basically support your evidence-based learning and your continuing practice. I'm really new into a leadership role with the trust, so this is my second month now, but I've been with the trust for 2 years. And I think I can give an insight into not only what my role offers, but I can learn from you as well, and find out that the offer that we give is in our service really does support you moving forward. So I'm really looking forward to working with you all when you join. Thanks.
Thanks, Lindsay. Charlotte?
Hi, yes. So I moved to the trust in January. So I'd come from Leicestershire and had sort of 13 years experience in the community. And we were moving to Devon, and I wanted a bit of a change. So I've come into the hospitals. But something that I'm really passionate about is really looking after our new starters and making new starters feel supported. It's something I did a lot in my last trust. I believe that if we don't look after our own workforce, that's where, you know, recruitment is one thing, but actually it's retention that we really struggle with in the NHS. And I'm really passionate about how we can support people to want to stay within the trust, and also to see sort of where their career might progress, because I think sometimes people aren't always sure. They want to sort of know what avenue they might want to take, and while it might be something that they might not be thinking about until 2-5 years time, it's still something that is in people's thought process. And I think recruitment is very different to what it used to be like, even sort of 14 years ago when I qualified. I think people used to sort of find their speciality or find their area and sort of stay there for a lot longer. Whereas I think now people, you know, especially with whether that's just with nursing, you know, that I'm talking from a nursing perspective, but I think people want to try new things and try new areas, and actually people have a much more of ability to try different areas, and because actually there is a lot more job vacancy everywhere, so people have the ability to move around, and I think that's something we need to adapt as an NHS organisation. So I think by doing the buddy system is really useful, both for myself in finding out sort of how newly qualified staff members, you know, what their thought process is, and you know, how they're thinking, but also hopefully for the buddy in me being able to support them on that sort of leadership or career progression, or just that confident person to be able to say, you know, either yes, that's normal, you know, you might feel that way, or actually, you know, that, you know, actually let's speak to someone, you know, I'm, you know, trying to get people to speak to you before it's too late, because we do have a lot of people that can struggle a lot with the transition, and what we don't want is for people to not feel that they can talk about that, because quite often sometimes when they get to the point that they do talk to us about it, it's almost gone, not that it's gone too far and we can't do anything about it, but it's almost a very later stage. So I think it's useful for us as leaders to sort of intercept and support much earlier on. So that's me anyway.
Brilliant. Thanks, Charlotte. Lucy, last but by no means least.
So as I mentioned earlier, I deal a lot with students really from like age 14 upwards, telling them about the careers, about the NHS as a great employer, that sort of thing. But up until sort of probably the year before lockdown, I was the lead trainer for induction. So, oh, do you know me? I need 5. So the welcome is really, really important to me. I think it's something I'm quite passionate about. But I think also to learn from you, so, or whoever your buddy is, how their experience is, but also their progression. And I love seeing people that I've maybe seen in year 10, and then all of a sudden they pop up in the trust, you know, and they're on a career pathway within the trust. So, you know, I'm just as happy to sort of see that of people who've maybe been to university, come back to the trust or joining the trust, and to follow their journey with them. And to be, I think the buddy, we've sort of been told, it's like a professional friend. So it's someone who's outside of your workplace, so that maybe if you've got things you want to share that might be difficult or political in your workplace. I think I've got to stop now.
So hello, Jess. Hello,
Hi.
Alicia. So what do you do, Alicia?
I'm an occupational therapist by background, and I'm one of the I'm the advanced practitioner for OT in Bideford Community Rehab Team.
All right.
I'm one of the leadership team over there, so I'm not practicing at the minute. I've just stepped down from being the interim team lead, and will be going back into my advanced practitioner role. But part of that is I manage the pilot project for short-term services, and I also do leadership development with the other members of the health and social care team.
I am a superintendent radiographer. I'm the head of DEXA, but I also write the reports for DEXA. I'm also the practice educator.
So I work for North Devon Against Domestic Abuse, but I'm funded by NHS, so I work under the safeguarding team as the health IDFA.
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah, so
Very
never a dull moment. Yeah. Always very busy as well. But I really love just the variety of all the different professionals that I come into contact with and the different cases and things like that. It's great. Really, really interesting. So, yeah.
I mean, is that why you find this really useful?
I think I really like the idea of being a buddy, because I know how challenging it can be to start a new role and be the newbie. So I like that element of it. But I also think it will be really good to continue with that domestic abuse awareness within the trust, and making sure that staff, as they're coming in, are kind of getting that awareness of my role and the organisation and things like that, really. So yeah, I think it would be really good for everyone.
Absolutely, and I totally echo that. And I don't know if Alicia, you feel the same. You know, if you're not a doctor or a nurse, you know, a lot of people don't really know what you do.
Yes.
And you know, so you know, we're all in that position that we're a bit more low profile, although the organisation needs us all.
Yeah.
So part of the thing of being the buddy, I think, is to get my own profession out there to these other people, so that realize that actually, all right, so you know, there is another profession. And so I think, you know, that's really useful for people, especially in their early careers, because it allows them to realize that there's more to it than just their job. And it's very easy to get siloed, I believe, that, you know, you just do your job.
I think there's a little bit of bias that comes from, you know, people. You go to uni to study a profession and you become very passionate about that, and but then it's very easy to become tunnel vision that's the only, because the unis big up that one profession, rightly so, because we're all really important, but we are all important. It's not nurses are better than doctors, doctors are, you know, we all play our part. So actually, I think the buddying and especially that cross discipline can be really helpful to broaden their perspective of, oh, okay, actually, it doesn't matter what your background is, we all play a part in this system and we all make it work.
Totally. Absolutely. I think that's absolutely correct. And it is so important, especially, as healthcare is so under the microscope at the moment, you know, we need to all be sticking together, not be saying, well, we're so important, all
Yeah.
those other people don't really know what they do, probably all sitting around all day, you know.
Yes. Yeah.
Whereas the thing to understand is that, and as we've just shown in all our own roles, we've all got multiple jobs to do. So, it's not just the one thing, is it? Yeah, so how long have you been doing the buddying then, both of you? Are you
Only
on your
just
first group?
started. This is the
So,
first round for me.
all right,
Me.
what, from somebody from September or somebody from earlier in the year?
No, just literally met my preceptee a couple of days ago for the
All right.
first time. That's it. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
and he'd only started in role. He's a physio. He'd only started in role a week previous. So,
Right. Yeah.
yeah,
So
all very
absolutely.
new. But
Yeah.
yeah.
And what
Yeah, so
about you,
I'm the
Alicia?
same. I met my buddy 2 days ago. But yeah, I've done lots of work with preceptors before, but not kind of cross professional. So I think it'll be really interesting to see how this goes.
No, yeah. I mean, I know it's been recorded, so we won't go into anything sort of personal, but my first person I buddied was an A&E nurse. I'm currently buddying a midwife, and I'm about to gain one in the September group as well. And I think, in the areas that, I mean, I do work in A&E, but I don't ever work with midwives. So in that area, just able to sort of be sort of an ear to listen to the things about that area that actually I don't know. But obviously, lots of things are very similar. It's the same pressures, it's the same sort of things. So you can be a professional ear. For those people, because actually you may be able to help them find a way forwards, even though it's not your
Mm.
area, you don't know how it works, but they've got a manager, they've got a supervisor, and sometimes they may just need to mention it to their supervisor, which they may be the most scared to do because
Mm.
they're new and shiny. So it's that sort of, I think you should raise that.
And I think there's also something about leadership in our organisation is shifting, isn't it? The way that we lead is different. So I think having different people you can talk to, because I like to think that we're all doing our very best, but some of us are better skilled in this than others. So it just gives that. What I'd hate for is someone to hit a brick wall and then think that that reflects the whole of the organisation. So I think it just gives them another in.
Yeah, yeah,
And that bit around retention, we can potentially offer a different perspective if they're stuck, if they're somewhere where they, I mean, sounds like I'm focusing on the negative, and I don't mean to, because there's so much
no, no,
positive we
no,
do.
no.
But we
I
can give an outsider, outside inside opinion. Not in that department, but still in the organisation, and give some perspective that's
absolutely,
different.
absolutely.
So Knowledge in Library Services is here to underpin the work that the clinical tutoring team and the Preceptorship programme offers through the Trust. We support colleagues throughout the whole of North Devon, West Devon and Torridge, working in the community or working on site. And as you can see, that we're working in partnership with you and for you. And it's about offering resources and support when you need it. With that in mind, we offer services face to face with the librarians that work here, but we also have a really well run website that offers all of our online resources and support and training available when you want to access it. That could mean that you're being bombarded with a huge amount of information. You've been qualified, you've come to work into the trust, and it's your first year and you're taking on all this information. And one thing as a knowledge and library service that we talk about is knowledge management. We talk about information not being knowledge. When we're fed lots of information, how do we convert that information to something that we can use and something that we can understand? We work with preceptorship, preceptees, and we work with junior doctors. We work with everyone across the trust to talk about health literacy and how we communicate with our patients and our service users. And we provide evidence at the fingertips when you do need it. We have a huge amount of resources, both online and on site. We have a physical space that you can access 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And we have a really active social media account where you can contact us out of hours or when you're online. It's a really brief overview of what library services offer, and this is not just limited to what we've spoken about. We're networked with libraries across the country, resources that we don't have. There will always be somebody that does have it that we can share with you. That could be training, that could be journal articles, it could be supporting your lifelong learning.
So we met the lovely Lindsay, who's also a buddy for Preceptees. Thank you so much for that. I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Just going to move on now to the opportunity to meet our staff at Northern Devon District Hospital. So having the expert knowledge in the room, as a student, would you like to pose any questions to any of the staff that are currently present in the call? In the chat, we have had what do you think the most beneficial thing about the Preceptorship programme is, and an apology because the microphone isn't working.
I think the really good thing about Preceptorship programme is it does give you a lot of additional support when you first arrive at the trust in your first role. I think when it's slightly newer to AHPs than it is to nursing, but it gives you that some protected time to ensure that you get some additional training, stuff that might be outside of your actual core profession, but really relevant around documentation, leadership. It gives you access to mentors and buddies, and it also then just provides you just with some time to come back together as a group to sort of review your learning with all your peers, so you don't feel on your own. So that's how I would sum up the really importance of preceptorship.
Thank you for that answer, Lucy. I'm going to pose the same question on Chloe's behalf to Elaine Leach.
Hello. Yes, I feel that very much what Lucy was saying, but also that it enables you to have a preceptor and you can start to structure your learning over the next year. There will always be pockets that you feel more nervous about than others, and such as working with your preceptor, having a plan. You do need to do a little bit of reflection and to think about what it is that you need, but we do that throughout our entire career. You get to meet different people that you probably won't see from day to day on the wards as well, and they also, if you see them walking past, very happy to have another chat with you if things are a worry. So it does open up the organisation very much more than your insular area you're going to be working in, which is always a healthy thing. Networking, meeting new people and understanding the organisation.
Thank you, Elaine. I'm going to pose the same question again to Anita to have a different perspective on the answer as well, because you work in the community.
I think in the community it can be because you're working on your own, sometimes it can be quite isolating because you're out seeing patients on your own. So having that buddy is that time to be able to spend with that buddy and just to build that relationship up, to ask those questions that perhaps you haven't been able to ask perhaps to your colleagues. I remember my first day on the ward, I was absolutely petrified. You know, I doubted myself about anything to do with drugs or anything on the ward, but I thought I couldn't ask my colleagues because I felt that they'd think I wasn't a proper nurse, even though I'd got my PIN. So to have that relationship with somebody who's not in your current role, that you could just say, I know it's a stupid question, but could you just answer this? And that's fine. You know, we're here to be able to answer those silly questions as well as the bigger things like look into your future. We're just here to offer that support and to be able to say, yeah, that's not a stupid question, because I actually asked exactly the same thing when I was starting out, or I wanted to ask that question but never actually got to ask it. So that for me, I think is really important, that you'll have that relationship with someone that you can just feel able to ask those questions.
Thank you, Anita. I really agree. I ask questions every single day and I learn something new every single day. Alicia, can I pose the same question to you? What do you think the most beneficial thing about the Preceptorship programme is, please?
I would echo what everyone else has said, but I think thinking back to when I did my preceptorship, which was quite a long time ago, there was something about meeting other people that were starting out on their careers as well. And you know, you get your position and you can be on whatever team you go to. You might be the only new kid on the block. So actually getting to meet other people that are in a similar position, and then starting to consolidate that learning from uni into practice, which you do a little bit of through your courses. I think that the Preceptorship gives you that protected time to just kind of make those links together and share that with other people that are in a similar position. Like Anita said, and what other people have said about the not wanting to ask a silly question, or like there is no silly questions, but I think being able to, there's a little bit of moral support comes from your peers. And then I think the buddy system works really well for the similar reason. It's someone outside of your sphere that can answer those questions as well.
I solely agree. I think I had an unrealistic expectation that when I qualified, I would know everything. And now I've realised through experience that actually I can't be expected to know everything. I've got my specialty knowledge and understanding. But when I don't know what I don't know, I need to pick up a phone, speak to a friend, have conversation with others around me, my colleagues and my peers. Yeah, absolutely. Lawrence, I'm going to pose the same question to you because it's quite exciting. We're going to have our first preceptee in sexual health, and I'm delighted.
Yes, thank you. I mean, I can't really answer the question because we've never done it before. I haven't seen a student nurse for about 20 years, and in fact we had two this summer. It was the first time for ages, and it was delightful. It was a really good experience, certainly for us, and I think hopefully for them too. But yeah, you're quite right, Kate. So we've got our first preceptee starting imminently, and it's going to be a learning curve for us all. I mean, we because of the sort of specialised nature of where we work, the nursing role within sexual health has changed enormously in the last 20 years or so, and it's got to the point where because it's quite specialised, we advertise for posts. We're looking for people with specialist experience, but those people aren't just sitting out there waiting for a job to appear. And we, partly for kind of future planning and stuff, we thought we need to, we're none of us are getting any younger, and we need, we need fresh young blood coming into the service. And so we've had I'm just on an appraisal this morning actually on a colleague who came. She wasn't newly qualified, but she'd been qualified for 2 or 3 years before coming here, but came with no experience into a sort of trainee role, and she's really thrived and absolutely loving it and doing a great job. And so we've got our new preceptee starting imminently, and we're very excited. But I can't really answer the question about what's beneficial about the program because I haven't experienced it yet. Ask me in a few weeks.
I absolutely will ask you in a few weeks, but I think you've actually encapsulated the fact that having preceptees in your area helps the staff around them grow, because it actually helps you develop your own coaching and mentoring. So yeah, I think you've captured the answer quite well. Lucy, you've got your hand up.
Yeah, I was just going to say, based on sort of what Lawrence has just said, that again, I think we've talked about what we felt the benefits of the preceptorship is for you, but actually, again, we mustn't forget that as an organisation we learn, because your fresh eyes and your questions really help us see things differently. And so never forget how important new eyes, new questions, the challenge to just that simple thing like why just makes us all learn. So I think, you know, that although we spoke initially, all of us started off talking about what the benefits are for you, I think it'd be really wrong of us not to then recognise that that actually provides benefits for our organisation, which is always trying to learn and improve to do better for our patients. So yeah, that's what I wanted to say.
Thank you for that, Lucy. And Tasmin, last but not least, coming to you.
Oh, thanks, Kate. I think I'm probably in the same situation maybe as Lawrence, in the sense that we've not really done this from a speech and language therapy perspective. We've not really done this before, so I can't usually say what the benefits might be at this point. However, sort of listening to what everyone said, I think definitely the sort of interdisciplinary and multidisciplinary aspect is probably one of the really strong focuses of this, and would definitely help as kind of a newly qualified member of staff as well, to kind of develop those links and supports with people outside of your profession in the first instance.
What year are you in, Chloe? She's very pleased with the answers that we've provided. That's brilliant. So I want to thank you all for taking time out of your day to come and speak to Plymouth students. Thank you for your time. So you're asking for a contact in terms of when I look for preceptorships. So my advice to you, Chloe, is to have a look on each trust website to see what they offer with regards to preceptorship, because each website should have a preceptorship page, so you know what each trust is offering. And you can always have an email conversation with the preceptorship lead from each trust. So you start by having a look on the website page of the trust that you're interested in, and there'll be generally an information email that you can send, and then we can have conversations with the preceptorship lead to help identify what their programme of support will be for you. I hope you found the session beneficial, and I'm pleased that you found it useful. And no apologies for your mic not working. I understand it can be challenging to have the correct equipment in IT.